learn from the Miss International and Miss Grand International journeys of Nicole Borromeo and Nikki de Moura. Okay, so before we begin, thank you very much for joining us in our live stream this evening. Thank you very much for giving us the time to go through with this live stream before we begin our coverage and we begin our what is essentially our Miss Universe program for the coming November. And the reason why I wanted to do this live stream is because I want to close up the the Miss International and the Miss Grand International pageants before we move on to the Miss Universe and Miss Earth pageants later this year. On November, we will be starting our Miss Universe coverage. We want to make sure that we plan out carefully our Miss Universe content. So, in order for us to do that, we have to close up this chapter first, the Miss International chapter, before we move on doon sa ating Miss Universe na coverage. And the reason for that is because for the first time in several years, siguro maybe around 2-3 years, I think it's around 4 or 5 years na, that the Miss Universe is going to be a 15-day na pageant. In the past, kasi ng mga tawag ito, ng mga editions, we have Miss Universe na editions na tipong 13 days lang, 12 days lang. So, this time around, medyo mahaba-haba ang Miss Universe na pageant. So, we want to make sure that we take enough time to plan our content, to plan our coverage, to plan our live stream with you. So, ang unang salvo will be a live stream with Mark Sobrajahani. We are actually preparing kung anong anong day kami po pwede because he is not available on Saturdays. So, mukhang magkakaroon ng adjustment in terms of kailan namin gagawin yung aming unang live stream. And I think dapat abangan nyo yan dahil that's going to be a very interesting na discussion on the initial na initial impressions on the Miss Universe girls, because they are going to be arriving in El Salvador, or expected to arrive at around November 4. Of course, El Salvadorian time. Okay, so this evening, what we're going to do is we're going to be discussing a lot of key lessons that we've learned with regards to the pageant campaigns and pageant journeys of Nikki de Moura and Nicole Borromeo. We all know that we fell a little bit short on expectations on the placements of the girls. Although we are happy for Nicole, we are not necessarily very pleased with the placement of Nikki. And I think that there are some things that we can learn from this experience that we can learn from, definitely, and use to grow from in terms of how are we going to prepare our candidates, not just only in the MGI and the Miss International na pageants, but also our candidates in general when we start fielding, or rather we start our national pageant season at around January or February this coming 2024. So, before we begin, let's greet muna yung mga people who have arrived here. Aicha Sia is here. Sabi niya, hey sir. Hello Aicha. Welcome to the channel. And I hope that everybody's going to be as interactive with our live stream and our polls a little bit, that I will announce a little bit later on. Okay, EJ Belch is also here. Sabi niya, naimbag nga bigat mo, Jason, here in Vancouver. Naragsak nga aldaw dita, EJ. I hope that maganda yung pasok ng araw natin ngayong umaga dyan sa Vancouver. Haji F is here. Sabi niya, good evening, sir. I think my lesson here is never follow uncle's pageant. Smiley face. Van Gulyod is also here. Hello po, watching from Latvia. Wow. Somewhere in Europe. Latvia is somewhere in Europe, right? It's one of those Slavic countries, if I'm not mistaken. So, there. Oops, sandali lang ha. Medyo kinakailangan ko lang i-adjust yung ating electric fan. Masyadong nakatutok sa akin. Okay, so, sorry about that. Let me just, where were we? Okay, Travel Junkie is here, present po, sabi niya. Hello, Travel Junkie. Kumusta? Saang panig ka ng mundo ngayon? I do hope that you're enjoying the different sights and sounds wherever you are. Ichastia says, I hope Genesis Latugat will join MGI. I do hope that it's something that she is open to. Wherever, pageant, the system that's, what do you call this? That's, she would prefer to join in. Okay, EJ Bell, sabi niya is, Latvia is a Baltic country in Northern Europe. Okay, sorry, it's not Slavic pala, it's a Baltic country. Okay, so, guys, doon sa upper part, upper hand ng inyong mga screens is you have a pinned poll that we are asking everyone to participate in. I am asking because these are things that I noticed na kinakailangan natin pag-usapan, that we need to talk about in our live stream with regards to what areas of training should we focus on in terms of our representatives for next year's international pageant season. The options are we should focus on technical capabilities, technical skills, pasarela skills, the art of conversation and communication skills. Then we also have the option of personal branding, and this includes styling, wardrobe, social media presence, and other aspects of personal branding and communicating who you are as a competitor. And the third option is more of a holistic approach, where the areas that needs to be discussed or needs to be trained on are the areas where the candidate would need them. Okay, so we will open this poll for everyone to join in. Ang poll na ito, we will continue for the next hour during our live stream, and we'll probably discuss the results towards the end of the discussion for this evening. And also, please leave a thumbs up in our live stream so that there are more people who are able to join us as they see the live stream on YouTube. Okay? Nasaan na ba tayo? Okay. Travel Junkie said that he just came from Samarkand, Uzbekistan for 4 days. Super murang bansa. Back in Dubai na po. Okay. Good to hear that. Nice to see you enjoying your travels. Okay. So, let's pause muna, okay? The kamustahan and the reading of our mga comments here, because I want to explain why we need to discuss the outcomes of the campaigns of Nikki and Nicole. And I think it's important that we review so that we can check back, or rather we can how to say, we can see where we made mistakes and then correct them before we forget what those mistakes are. Kasi there is I noticed that there is a recurring pattern that things that other girls or other Filipina representatives that did well in the international scene, we are hard to replicate those success stories. And I feel that with the length of time that we have in preparation for this international competition, I think that there are things that could have been prepared and ironed out prior to the competition. And I think we need to start recognizing the areas that medyo kinapos tayo, that we had some shortcomings on, so that we can address them before the next international pageant season. And I think this will definitely help our future representatives, and of course Angelica Lopez in her competition next year, because the things that we learned from the past 2 years, the past 2 editions of Miss International, not including this one, is something that we could have prepared better for, especially with a whole year of preparations before the competition of the international representatives. And I think that these things are easy to be prepared if we only took the time to really understand what are the things that we need to prepare for in the international competition, because we have the luxury of time. And also, when it comes to short preparations, much like that of Nikki, we really need to understand the areas that needed to be drilled upon or strengthened. Because Nikki was crowned at around June or July of this year. She had pretty much around 2 to 3 months, 3 months of training. And the things that we could have helped her with would have been in preparation for different areas that may or may not have been perfect in terms of her competition. And I will be explaining that. I'm having a hard time finding the right words to describe that, because ayokong magkamali, dahil we know that there were issues that affected Nikki's performance, or Nikki's mental well-being and headspace during the competition. So we will be careful with discussing that a little bit later on. So let's just go back to some of the comments before we start with the meat and bones of our discussion. Okay? Otan is here. Sabi niya, good evening, Sir Jason. Tom Consensino is also here. Sabi niya, complacency should never be a practice in preparing our girls. Trainers and creatives should study the international organization well. They should also learn how to deal with netizens well. Hajiev, sabi niya, I like how Nicole's team or Binibining Pilipinas listens to feedback. I guess next time the girls are thought to replicate as close as possible the looks that they have in their photo shoots. Ashton says, yes, dapat holistic ang approach talaga. Some candidates think that they are well prepared when in fact they only prepared for their pasarela, wardrobe, and Q&A. Dapat alam ng ladies kung ano ang pinapasok nila. Hajiev says, on Nikki's journey, I think the problem was her galawan and pasarela are not very MGI. Rodvin Fiel says, present sir, hello po. Good evening, Rodvin. Salamat naman at naka-join ka ngayon. Welcome to our live stream. Okay, John Snow 79. Hi, Jason. Hope everyone is safe. Regarding MI, given that our rep will be given a whole year to prep, all 3 points you mentioned can be checked. The last 3 girls that we sent had wobbly start, humabol lang. Okay, so I think this is a very interesting conversation with regards to what do you call this? This is an interesting conversation with regards to the areas that needs to be prepared, because everybody has an input, and everybody, I believe, can offer a perspective that we probably do not see. And I do hope that I get to hear from you in the comment section, in the chat box section, a little bit more later on as we discuss along yung mga points that I think napansin ko na kinakailangan nating kumbaga planchahin or linisin in our next na representation at the international stage. Okay? So let's begin. This is something that I noticed doon sa preparation ni Nikki, or rather dun sa laban ni Nikki. And one of the things that I needed to, I needed to jot down earlier was, what are the areas kung saan tayo kinapos? And I think it made me realize that everything that we have seen so far with regards to Nikki is that umasa tayo masyado sa face card. And I remember that everybody or majority of the things that I see on social media with regards to Nikki, with regards to her representation or comments on Nikki, there's always this comment that it's always leaning towards the strength of her face. It's pretty much like 70%, around 80% of comments would recognize yung beauty of face ni Nikki. And I think we need to, we need to remember that MGI is not your typical beauty pageant. Hindi, namamando kung sino ang makakapasok ng semis. Base doon sa kung ano yung nagugustuhan nung may-ari. Yun yung common na common na kutob or common knowledge among pageant fans, that it's Nawat who pretty much makes the decisions with regards to the pageant. And I think that that observation by most pageant fans is kind of valid. So I think the mere fact that we relied heavily on beauty of face alone says something about our representation. I agree, in most cases 50% beauty of face is something that is very binibining Pilipinas. So we really need to probably drill into our psyche that face card alone is not enough. And when I say face card alone, you cannot rely on just that in order for you to move forward or to move past the first cut of an international competition. And we saw that with Nikki's preparation, because in terms of technical skills, in terms of her pasarela, in terms of her turns, her poses, in terms of her register, she pretty much is within the average na pageant candidate. There are girls at Miss Grand International who are more technically proficient than her, and they use that in their advantage. This is also the reason why marami rin ako nakikita ng mga nagrereklamo na hindi naman kagandahan yung dalawang Asian na nakapasok sa top 5. But then again, kapag tignan naman natin yung pasarela nila, mas malinis ng dihama kaysa sa technical skills na pinakita ni Nikki. And I think that is a area that needed to be addressed. And I do understand Nikki is still a greenhorn in pageantry, and I think that her participation at Miss Grand is like an entry-level na participation. I think that she's there in order for her to learn, in order for her to experience what an international competition is, so that if she decides to join, or when she decides to join another national pageant, she is more prepared with the international competition that she will be fielded into. In fact, I think Nikki is a Alpha 4 caliber na candidate. She could have made it much better had she been trained for an Alpha pageant, whether it's Miss Universe, Miss Earth, or Miss International, or even Miss World. I think she has the ingredients in order for her to really have a strong representation there if she had enough time to prepare. I think that Nikki being the greenhorn that she is, needed more time in order for her to mature, in order for her to really strengthen her experience, strengthen her base, so that she's able to savor the experience, learn from the experience, and then execute later. I think in terms of beauty, we don't have any issue, we don't have any problem with Nikki. It's just that she was ill prepared because of probably the very limited time for her to train for the competition, as well as she lacked the experience and probably even the grit that is necessary in order for 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 her to win. And I also think that yung pagiging unbothered niya did not translate well in terms of how, paano ko ba sasabihin ito nung hindi ako nakakasakit ng ibang tao. Okay, yung pagiging unbothered niya, it did not work for her dahil it made it look like she doesn't have the passion, or she didn't showcase enough yung parang kulang siya ng uhaw para manalo. Oh God, how do I explain that without in terms that everyone can understand. Okay, because of her very unbothered na personality throughout the competition, it looked like she wasn't really going to win. That is the impression that we got from her. And I think with Grand, with this circus of a show, you really need someone who is like willing to kill or to die for the title. I think that is that is the kind of winner that the pageant is looking for. And with Nikki having all the physical ingredients, probably lack the fire that was prerequisite in order for her to be successful at Miss Grand. That is my interpretation. That is my perspective of things. And I think, when you are a newbie at pageantry, yes, I think eagerness and assertiveness yung kulang. Thank you very much, Travel Junkie, Summer Sunday, because I think that were the missing ingredients that I really hope Nikki should have expressed. Much like I think Samantha Bernardo really was all in. I think that is one of the areas that whether it's MGI, whether it's Miss Universe or any other international pageants, you really need to exhibit. You should be unbothered when it comes to people who criticize and hate you, who are haters, who are trolls. But you should not be unbothered to the point that you don't care whether you win or you lose. And I think that is the area that we really needed to polish on in terms of representation, whether it's Nikki, whether it's Nicole, or whether it's any of our upcoming mga candidates for international competition. And I know that hindi natin kayang diktahan kung anong magiging takbo ng isip ng may-ari, pero kapag ipinakita natin yon, I think it's going to be something that we cannot fault our candidates. And when Samantha Panlilio, showed yung ganong klaseng eagerness to win, eagerness to represent the country, lahat tayo parang naramdaman natin yung pait nung hindi niya pagpasok. And I would rather have that kind of feeling because nakita natin na inilaban tayo to the nth level. So yun yung gusto kong mangyari sana in the future, that in any of our representatives, they would, for the sake of, pride of the country, and for the sake of, good representation for the Philippines, they give it their all. So I think that's an area na medyo kinapos tayo doon sa representation ni Nikki. I think that the unbotheredness that she exhibited did not, did not work for her, dahil siguro ang nakita ng topakin yung uncle was baka hindi niya gustong manalo. And I think, that is something that we really need to think of when it comes to representation in future na mga pageants. Now, the next thing that I wanted to point out is I am hoping na hindi siya na-stress with all of the things that had happened during her competition. I know that some of you are aware of what happened between one of her designers, or rather stylists, and with her national costume and the drama that went along there. I think hindi nakaganda sa mental state ni Nikki yung nagwo-worry siya kung meron siyang maisusuot na national costume or wala. And honestly, I believe that in the future, whether it's Miss Grand, whether it's Miss International, or it's Miss Universe, or Miss World, or Miss Earth, maiwasan natin yung mga last minute na kailangan ng ganito for our representative in an international competition. I hope that in the future we learn to iron out any agreements with regards to wardrobe, whether it regards to training, whether it regards to what do you call this, miscellaneous fees. Kaya hirap sabihin ng arrangement. Ang pangit kasi pakinggan kung areglo kasi kinakailangan din kasi natin isipin kung makakasama ba yung ginagawa nating hindi paggawa ng kontrata sa mga members ng team, whether it's the makeup artist, the hair, the designer, the stylist, because I hope na maiwasan yung nakikipag-compete na nga yung representative natin, nag-iisip pa siya kung ano yung mangyayari sa gown niya dahil hindi pa nabayaran, or sa ibang aspects ng wardrobe niya na hindi pa dumating, because for whatever reason, I hope that there are contracts made in place so that these things are avoided. I hope that in the future, bago pa man lumipad yung mga candidates natin, kompleto na yung kanilang wardrobe, and that whatever negotiations that is made in place, or agreements that were made in place, should have been ironed out bago pa man siya umalis, or bago pa man umapak ng eroplano yung kandidata natin, because hindi nakakaganda ng mental state ng isang nagko-compete abroad na meron pa pala siyang kinakailangan ayusin na fees bago niya pwedeng isuot ang isang national costume or isang evening gown in an international competition. Because here's the thing, I understand the position of the pageant girl and her team, but I also understand the position of the stylists, designers, hair and makeup the people, because in my experience, there had been designers and hair and stylists that were never fully paid for the services that they rendered for a girl who's competing in an international competition. Ayaw natin magmukhang unprofessional tayo when we're dealing with professional services like this. Kaya kinakailangan, in my opinion, there is a contract between the pageant girl, her camp, her team, her glam team, and members of her glam team, so that each and everyone understands what is the deliverables when it is being delivered, how much is the fees that is required to be paid versus the services that needs to be rendered. Because what happened here is that if you are paying for, let's say, a national costume or a evening gown to be used in international competition, then I think that pageant girls are not morally obligated to publish who the designers are because these are paid na services. If this is an ex-deal situation, then I would understand that they can what do you call this? They need to say who the gown, who was the maker of the gown, who's the designer of the gown, who made the national costume, etc. However, if I believe that all of these are paid and these are paid in full before it was delivered to you, then the pageant girl should not be obligated to say that this gown is from this kind of designer, this this headpiece is from this kind of accessory designer, etc. I think that is just fair. So that if in case na hindi man ma-acknowledge yung si designer doon sa mga gowns, sa mga accessories na ginawa, at least bayad sila. Because the last thing that you want to happen is that ginamit mo na nga, hindi mo pa in-acknowledge. Masyado namang unfair yon doon sa services rendered by the designers, by the makeup artist, by the the hairstylist. There needs to be a compensation of sorts. Now, if it's an ex deal, then I would understand na acknowledgement ng kailangan. However, if it is a paid service, you have to deliver and you have to make sure that gawa on a certain date so that mabayaran ka on a certain date. Importante na kung ang usapan is kinakailangan bayad bago umalis ang kandidata, kinakailangan bayad bago umalis ang kandidata. And this is something that should be put in black and white in a contract so that both the pageant girl and the designer or the creatives are protected. This way, pag nagkaroon ng aberya, when there are issues or problems, we all go back to what's indicated in the contract. That is the only way that we can professionalize this industry. Much like how, professional services in styling for celebrities are done. We need to make sure that we protect not only the girls, but also the designers, the creatives that are involved in the preparation of this, of these, wardrobes and accessories, etc. Okay? Now, alam ko marami kayong gustong sabihin sa regard na yan. So, isa-isahin natin yung mga comments niya dito. Okay? Medyo marami na kayong mga comments. Sandali lang, ha? Ano tayo? Isa-isahin natin. Okay? Okay. I think we ended up with the comment from John Snow. So, ang next na babasahin natin na comment is from Edu ES. Sabi niya, hola sa todos, out of topic, but what happened to Caballero Universal Filipinas? It says that there is a Filipino rep, but the pageant is in full swing now. Parang wala akong matandaan na may, na merong representative. Because nung Mr. International PH, there was no one who was crowned with the title. So maybe it was the title, or rather the franchise was moved to another pageant. So I don't know. Maybe that's the reason why there's no Filipino representative as of yet. Sabi ni John Snow 79 regarding MGI, since it's a circus, magpadala lang tayo ng clown if ever na magpapadala pa tayo. Clown emoji. Okay. Noted, John Stone. Okay, Ash then says, Nikki is still green for international beauty pageant. You can see the difference in Nicole's prep from that of Nikki. Maturity plays a big role din talaga. We need a thinking queen, di sunod-sunuran. Nikki's journey is reminiscent of CC. Celeste Cortez's Miss Universe journey. Masyadong tumaya ang mga tao sa face and youth vitality ni Nikki. Ayun na nga, tulad ng nabanggit ko kanina, we really need to stop thinking na face card is the end all be all. Importante din yung other aspeto ng competition na kinakailangan technically proficient ka din in comm skills, in pasarela skills. Okay? Sabi ni Hajiev, actually, sir, I noticed na parang mas fierce pa pasarela niya in MGPH versus nung nasa MGI na siya. Was the training wrong going into the pageant? I don't know kasi hindi ko nagsubaybayan yung training ni Nikki. As you all know naman, gulat na lang ako na marami palang issue na nangyari because hindi ko talaga sinusubaybayan yung pageant niya. Unfortunately, when I reviewed yung preliminaries at yung preliminary performance niya, medyo kung ikukumpara natin, let's say sabihin na lang natin si Thailand o kaya si Colombia, itong mga girls na to talagang marunong magpaandar, and I think dun tayo kinapos when it comes to really strong na tawag ito na pasarela, yung makitaan mo ng fire na lumalaban, yung mga sa Colombia na lang, doon mo makitaan talaga na she would really do everything in order to win the title. Okay? Sabi ni JUP, hello Sir Jason. Key observation lang. As for Nikki, one, she is not the prototype. Maganda siya, but she's too elegant and lacks the eagerness to elevate herself, to elevate the brand itself. Actually, there's nothing wrong with Nikki's performance and styling. Very obvious na pinaglalaroan lang talaga tayo ni Nawat. No matter sinong ipadala natin, hindi talaga tayo mananalo. Just me, yung na cut off yung comment ni Jupe. Okay? JUP, I will wait na lang kapag may kadugtong yung gusto mong sabihin. Okay? But I kind of agree that Nikki perhaps is not a prototype. However, among the candidates during the MGPH, I think siya yung pinaka-safe na bet. Pinaka-safe na choice. So, I actually, in all honesty, I feel that Nikki is much more better relegated to pageants like Miss International or Miss World na mas elegante yung galawan, mas elegante yung kilos, rather than a very magaslaw na pageant requirement ng MGI. I think with MGI, you have to be like extra. And that is not Nikki's brand. I think Nikki has a more classy and more refined na galawan, na movement as compared to what the MGI is looking for. So, unfortunately, that's something that isn't really a good fit. It pretty much was like a square peg round hole na situation. Okay? Tom Consensina says, I know that Filipinos want to rip ankle and want to silent treat it permanently. I get it. But I'm sure na hindi na final na Miss Grand PH si Nikki, ALV would still cling to the franchise. I kind of agree. Hanggat may tumatangkilik, hanggat may sasalo ng franchise, meron at meron yan. Hajiev says, the national orgs also should be careful in partnering with unscrupulous partners as well. Okay? Ito na. Jup continues with saying that Samber is really the blueprint for MGI. Technical, social, and always promotes MGI brand to be more visible. Styling and always go for a kill. I think yun yung eagerness to win na nabanggit nyo kanina. I think there really is a necessity for that. And this is not just applicable for MGI, but for other international competitions as well. Jam Amihan says, I think naka-apekto rin kay Nikki yung nangyayari sa problema sa styling at wardrobe niya. Kumalma lang ang aura niya during prelim, pero maari na behind the scene affected si Nikki before the prelims. I kinda agree. That's why, again, hopefully in the future, when we are fielding candidates in the international arena, everything should be smoothened out dito pa lang sa Pilipinas. Okay, Erna Marie says, itong mga girls na gustong mag-MGI, go lang. Kung gusto nila mapaglaruan, dapat ready sila. At huwag silang iyak-iyak kapag nabalahura sila nung payasong owner. Grabe ang comment ni Erna Marie. Okay? Jon Snow 79 says, mukhang naswertihan si Voldemort sa mga Peruvian girls na pinanalo niya. Both Maria Jose Lora and Luciana Foster were genuinely nice women. Mukhang ayaw din ni Voldemort ng ma-attitude na girl. Saldi Salen, hello. Sabi ni Saldi, I believe Nikki should have been trained and prepared by MGIPH according to the whims, or should I say the so-called prototype of MGI. Agree, 100%. Leo Grengia says, handpick na lang dapat sa ilalaban natin sa MGI. Kasi sayang lang yung magpa-pageant ka, sa totoo lang. Jam Amihan says, by the way, ang haba ng hair ni Emma Tiglaw ngayon. May comments sina Cuba, Costa Rica at Argentina sa kanyang latest post ng outfit niya sa Mr. International, and Jose Calio is doing great now. I kinda agree. Honestly, si Emma mas gumaganda habang tumatagal, and I kinda like yung glow niya during the Mr. International na competition. Alam mo yung parang may sariling ilaw sa loob ng katawan si Emma. Ganun siya ka-glowing during the finals. And with regards to Jose Antonio Calle, he's doing quite well. I'm following him on Instagram, and I noticed that almost every day meron siyang activity in Spain. He's been touring a lot in terms of public appearances and appearances sa mga media outlets in Spain, and especially in his area where he came from, in Malaga. He's quite in demand. I think the Mr. International organization, the Philippine-based one, really made a great decision of choosing him as winner. I think that the judges really selected a very deserving candidate to win the Mr. International title. Ayan, speaking of Mr. International, we will be talking about the Miss International na journey naman ni Nicole. Let me just finish some of your comments na nandito ngayon para medyo makausad tayo. Sabi ni Dre, wala akong nararamdaman na bago sa pasarela ni Nikki. Kitang-kita mo sa kanya na turo yun ni Ian Lawrence, pang 101 level. I don't think naman, Dre, na it's just the training or the trainer yung nagkulang. I think overall, ang kulang talaga is yung oras. Because I think if Nikki had longer time to prepare, mas kaya niyang ilaban ito, because Nikki has the goods. She has all the necessary qualifications to win. Siguro height lang na kinapos ng konti, pero when it comes to if na-train siya ng maayos, I think kaya naman niya kaya niyang manalo. It's just so happened na pinadala siya sa not so great na international competition. Had it been that she was sent at a competition that has much more integrity and honesty and transparency in the judging process, then I think Nikki would have made at least semis in any international competition that she's been sent. Okay? Nasaan na ba tayo? Travel Junkie. Do you think lalangawin lalo ang MGIPH? Ano kayang feeling ni ALV? I think that the next time that he would have to select an MGI candidate, I think that it would be best if he does just one competition, and then make the main winner Miss World Philippines, and then make also the main winner choose between whether or not she wants to compete at Miss World or at Miss Grand. That way, Nawat still gets his one national title holder for his competition. Okay, Hannah is asking, okay, honestly po ba, Hannah Denise D, sabi niya, honestly po ba sir, did you expect Nikki's non-placement? Saka observation lang, the owner doesn't seem to favor mestizas na Miss Grand Philippines. Okay, heto na. To be honest, I was at the back of my head expecting na hindi tayo ipa-place ni Uncle. Dahil ginawa na niya yan kay Eva, ginawa na niya yan kay Sampanlilio. So, I am always expecting na hindi niya ipapasok ang Pilipinas just so he can prove a point. The moment na nakita ko na nilangaw ng todo nung pumunta sila dito sa Pilipinas, nung niligawan tayo nung organization, I think kumanti lang talaga siya na hindi tayo ipinasok dito sa laban ni Nikki. So, I honestly am at the thought na kahit na sinong ilagay mo dyan, depende sa whims ng may-ari, ipapasok niya o hindi, mas malamang na mas hindi. Yun yung pakiramdam ko. That's my feeling. Okay? Sabi ni JP, in addition, Sir Jason, the local MGI brand effects as well, naging nonsense ang pagkala sa BBP. The intentions was to be stand-alone, not to be the top crown. Again, good riddance because at least ang binibining Pilipinas, mas mukhang may premium na ngayon with just having Miss International and Miss Globe as their main title. I do hope na they would add more, but more than adding, additional titles, what I would want really is just one title and then lakihan yung mga prizes for Binibining Pilipinas winners. Okay, so speaking of Binibining Pilipinas, let's talk about Nicole. Because Nicole, despite a third runner-up placement, there are also some holes in her competition. Doon sa kanyang preparation, perhaps, and doon sa mismong laban niya sa Japan. Because, one, napansin ko is that Nicole is only doing pusod na hair mas madalas sa duration ng competition niya. And I think that moving forward, any of our girls who is competing at Miss World, Miss Universe, Miss International, Miss Earth, should learn how to do a variety of hair and makeup. Kasi, nung panahon na hawak ni SMA ang Miss Universe, alam ni na MJ, alam ni na Ara, alam ni na Janine, ni na Pia, ni na Catriona how to do their own hair and makeup. Yung loose curls ni Catriona during the Miss Universe in Thailand, siya lang ang gumawa nun. Yung makeup niya, she does know how to do her own makeup. And I think those are the reasons why mas successful yung kanilang mga pageant campaigns and journey because sila mismo yung gumagawa, sila mismo yung kumakayon doon sa mga hairstyle and makeup nila. And I think that is, a fairly good reason that Bea Rose Santiago was successful as well as at Miss International dahil when I look at the hairstyles ng mga candidates natin since the time ni Bea Rose until now, nakitaan ko talaga ng outstanding na malinis na styling hair and makeup wise si Bea Rose. And I think yung kapag nakikita ko siya sa mga activities ng Miss International during her year, not a hair out of place parati si Bea. Kahit simpleng pusod yung ito, simpleng pusod yung or ponytail yung hairstyle ni Bea, parating malinis. It's very, hindi nagka-clump together yung hair niya, hindi matikwas, ganon, yung kanyang hairstyle. She's always neatly packaged, neatly, and parang perfection siya parati when it comes to her, personal appearances during the entire competition. So, kay lugay na kulot, or naka-ponytail, or nakapusod, I think Bea is one of those girls na kinakailangan pag-aralan ng mga candidates natin in terms of how she did her own hair and makeup. And I think ito yung area na kinakailangan natin pagtuunan ng pansin moving forward. Dahil you cannot always rely on the hair and makeup team that the pageant is provided because kung you are 73 candidates or 78 candidates or 90 candidates, by the time na nasa iyo na yung ikaw na yung gagawan ng hair and makeup, pagod na sila. And of course, kapag pagod na sila, the more that yung mga kayod nila hindi perfect. So you really need to learn how to do your own so that you can make your own decisions on your hairstyle at hindi yung you rely heavily on the hair and makeup team. And sometimes the hair and makeup team are not always provided by the pageant organization, or there are restrictions on the hair and makeup team with regards to what they can offer you in terms of services. So you, as candidates, you really need to learn how to do your own hair and makeup so that in case na hindi umabot sa'yo yung gusto mong hairstylist or yung makeup artist, kaya mong lumaban on your own. Okay? I think that is a skill that a lot of the pageant girls nowadays are so very, very well blessed because during the time ni na Janine Tugonon, ni na Venus Ra, kanya-kanya sila ng kaya ng makeup. And they really, they really excelled in doing that, doing their own competition makeup because syempre kapag hindi kabisado ng hair ng mga hairstylist, ng makeup artist yung kayod ng mukha mo, yung texture ng hair mo, they might not be able to give you the best look. So, I think that is something for our future and current na mga pageant girls needs to think of so that they are better prepared at the international competitions. Okay. So let me just sip water and magbasa tayo ng mga comments niyo dahil ang dami niyong mga kuro-kuro. Oh, okay, Jon Snow. Let's start with Jon Snow's comments. Kasi sabi niya, nasabi mismo ni Voldemort na siya talaga ang namimili ng winner. Kaya mga florera lang ang mga judges sa finals. Mas okay siguro na ialay sa kanyang magandang Pinay na oriental looking like Nicole Cordoves and Sam Bernardo. Sabi naman ni Erna Marie, malalim ang bitterness na ninawat sa mga Pilipino, Miss Earth pa lang. No PH rep would ever please narcissists. To the PH fans who keep on patronizing his circus, hindi nyo ba talaga mag-gets? Sabi naman ni Ashton, last year, mas naenggayo akong bumili ng vote for Roberta. Pero ito kay Nikki, after makita ko yung mga galawan niya, nakita ko na di siya mananalo. Kaya hanggang like lang ako ng pics. Sabi ni Ashton. Okay, Hajiev says, yes, I agree, sir. Bothered ako sa hair issue ni Nicole. I read somewhere na yung swimsuit shoot niya, pinuulit ng MI due to her hair. Oh, okay. Kaya nga, yun na nga. Napansin ko din na in terms of, the hairstyle ni Nicole, she sticks to a very safe na pusod or low ponytail. In person, maganda tignan kay Nicole yung nakapusod. Dahil nakita ko na siya in person where she did her own hair and makeup, tapos yung pusod niya, siya lang ang din ang gumawa. When she does that, when she put her hair away from her face, mas lumiliit palalo yung face niya. mas mas mukhang maliit yung face niya, and thus makes her look like she's even taller. So I think the issue with Nicole is not yung parati siyang nakapusod, but rather she did not offer a variety of looks. And the only time that she started experimenting on her looks was probably several days after nag-start na yung competition. And I think somebody probably within the Binibining Pilipinas or her own glam team mentioned yung mga sentimiento ng mga fans, kaya siguro she started, you know, to shake things up in terms of her styling. Okay? Nasaan na ba yan? Okay. Sabi ni Jam Amihan, I think wala talaga tayong mapapala sa insecure na pageant owner. It really boils down sa kanyang naging conflict sa Miss Earth. For Nicole, the styling ng hair remind me of Janique Maceta. Yes. It also is harkening back to the time where si Janicel had low ponytail din during her Miss International 2015 na stint. And again, during the time of Janicel, when Sir Gio and Sir Rodgil of Kagandahang Flores was asking for any suggestions on pegs for Janicel's hairstyle for Miss International na pwede lang gamitin for daily na mga activities. I mentioned to them, I actually gave them a photo, a series of photos, a collage rather, of Dior 2014 fall winter na fashion show hairstyles where majority of their models were wearing low na ponytail. So nauso din nung panahon na yon yung ganong klaseng style. Nasaan na ba tayo? Ashden says, ngayon kay Nicole, klaro ang kanyang advocacy. Pero sa Angelica Lopez, parang wala. Kung di siya maghanda at gumaya lang sa iba na puro pasarelang training, El Tukuyo tayo next year. I think in terms of yung tawag ito, yung what do you call this? Yung advocacy ni Angelica, it's something to do with education and poverty. I am not yet klaro on ano yung UNSDG that she wants to take on. So maybe kapag makita ko siya in one of the Binibining Pilipinas na mga events, I might be able to ask her about it. At bulungan ko na rin siya ng tawag ito, ng mga sentimiento ng mga fans in terms of yung naiisip nila with the Miss International na competition results. Okay, Dikonan says, culture ng Taytay ang vindictive. Kaya ganun si Angko. Okay, sabi naman ni JUP, as for Nicole, hands down, matalino talaga siya, puno ng substance. Her Q&A, akala ko talaga winner na, but congrats to her and her team. So, let's go back doon sa comment ni Dikonan. Sabi niya, kaya hindi tayo mananalo sa dog show kasi unqueenly behavior ang gusto nila. Na stripper pole dancer energy ang image is very different from the essence of a truly beautiful Filipina. Okay, let me just continue doon sa last 2 points ng tawag ito ng lessons that I think kapupulutan natin ng aral from Nicole and Nikki. And that is on the second part, the second thing that I noticed na pwede nating take away from Nicole's participation is personal branding from the very beginning. Kinakailangan you are able to communicate who you are as a person, as a pageant girl, and what you stand for from the very beginning of the competition. Hindi pwedeng saka ka lang magpapakitang gilas kapag preliminaries na. You really need to be authentic from the onset. And I think ito yung isa sa mga naging initial na worry ng mga fans because ang tingin natin parang ang lamya ni Nicole during her initial na mga few days in Tokyo, and we really were very glad that as the competition progresses, she became uh, more present at social media, and she was showing more of her personality instead of very canned na mga uh, what do you call this, na mga images, mga photo shoots, so that it becomes more relatable. Her content is more relatable, and I think if we are going to transpose this to the possible campaigns of future ng mga girls, especially for Angelica, I think it really needs to start from the ground, yung pagiging authentic. Not to overtrain the candidate. Yes, you need to be technically proficient on your pasarela skills, on your communication skills, but you also need to be very authentic. And I think yun yung kinakailangan na from the onset, people understands who you are, people see your personality, so that your personality will shine throughout the entire competition, and that they see, an authentic person, competing and representing the country at the international stage. And I think you really need to be very active on social media, because among all the girls na napansin ko yung social media, the one that has very strong social media presence at the Miss International pageant this year is Sofia Osorio Luna of Colombia. There is a reason why we were all threatened na baka siya yung manalo, because she really was very, very hands-on in terms of her journey in Tokyo. Every day meron siyang post ng OOTD niya, kung ano ang ginawa nila, kung ano yung mga activities nila. And I think that is, something that if I were an international pageant, nakikita ko yung effort ng candidate na ito yung what the Miss International pageant is all about. These are the activities that we do. Of course, I will be giving, an extra attention on that girl, because she is not only pushing her brand on social, but she's also pushing the brand of the international competition. Dala-dala niya yung Miss International brand on her socials, and I think that is the reason why, despite a weaker na Q&A content versus that of Nicole during the finals, naungusan niya tayo ng todo doon sa runner-up placements. And that is the reason why I think it's important that any girl that present an international competition should know her brand and should know the brand of international competition that she is competing in, because that way she can really give attention, put attention to the brand, and that is something na tawag ito na magagamit niya as an advantage in her competition. So I think we really need to be very mindful of that, dahil sa ngayon kinakailangan tayong lahat nakikita kung ano yung efforts na ginagawa ng mga girls natin in order to promote the international competition, dahil yun yung makakapaglapit ng loob ng organization doon sa mga representatives natin. Okay? So, before we continue with the comments, let me just go back doon sa ating poll, because right now 71% believes that the thing that we need to focus on in terms of training, in terms of the pageant campaigns for next year, is a more holistic approach to pageantry. We have that at 71%. Very, very far off na second place is personal branding, which is 17% lang. Samantalang technical capabilities come in at third at 12%. Okay? Nasa na ba tayo? Sandali. Dun sa mga comments, sabi ni Jam Amihan, if poverty ang advocacy ni Angelica Lopez, SDG number 1 po. Sa education, SDG number 4. I think pwede siya pumili among the two para makapag-focus din kung ano dapat at gusto niyang tutukan. I agree. Pageant Fan NYC. Hi, Sir J. Do you think ALV will still continue with the MGI franchise? If ever, who do you see would take over? Honestly, ayoko na sanang may pumulot pa na iba. Pero meron at meron yan na pupulot if ever na aayaw na si ALV. But I don't think so na babitawan niya yan. Sabi ni Ashden, Sir Jason, I think MMD's preparation ngayon ay nakakatuwa. Yung SOCMED niya, pinapakita niya talaga kung ano pinagkakaabalahan niya related sa advocacy niya. At the same time, yung pa-fashion niya, tamang timpla. Dikonan says, the brand of a truly beautiful Filipina is values-laden. It is impossible to matrix it to a dog show, strip of pole dancer energy and aura. Okay, so since we have mentioned yung key points natin doon sa ating discussions for this evening, I think the main takeaway that we really need to drill upon in after all of this is reflective of the results on the poll. We really need to have a holistic approach in our campaigns next year. So perhaps for Angelica, dahil si Angelica naman yung alam naman natin na magko-compete na next year, we really need to start thinking of wardrobe as an extension of her brand. We need to start thinking of her learning possibly Nihongo as early as now, so that when she goes there, she can speak the language, she's conversant with the language, she's able to, do a Miss Venezuela, Andrea Rubio during the Q&A, na makuha niya, makapalapitan niya yung loob ng mga judges, ng mga Japanese na audiences for her. Tapos, importante din siguro that we align her personal brand with the Miss International brand. Alam ko na pabiro akong nag-post earlier today on my socials, especially on Instagram, na very active ang mga comments doon, although I posted it on Facebook as well. I think yung sentimento natin that Miss International is no longer looking for a Miss International winner na prototype. I think in terms of behavior, in terms of what do you call this, in terms of attitude, ayan, hindi magbabago. Pwedeng by next year, hindi natin alam, magbago yung timpla ng hahanapin nila doon sa winner, physical wise. Pwedeng next year they might go back to the 2022 na set of winners na may black, may blonde, may brunette, may Asian doon sa doon sa top 16 na winners. Pwede din na may European, may Asia, may European, may Latina, may African doon sa top 5. So in terms of the physicality, whether the Miss International would stick to its Miss International mode next year, or they find something new, they shake up the competition and crown someone who is out of the box. We really need to be prepared for whatever eventuality that might happen. Hindi pwedeng wala tayong plan D pag nagkataon. So I think that in terms of Angelica, what we do need to do now is to find yung authentic na personality niya, palabasin yon, and find an alignment between who she is as a person, what she can offer, versus what the Miss International organization is looking for. Because ultimately, if we keep on sending girls that are prototype, pwedeng manawa din sila doon sa prototype nila, because every now and then, the Miss International crowns someone that is out of the box. When Gozaider Azua won Miss International, when Elizabeth Mosquera won Miss International, they are not the typical porcelain white Barbie dolls that the Miss International is looking for. Instead, they are the mulatas, the dark-skinned ladies. When Lara Kigaman, when Melanie Marquez won. They are not again the mestiza halfies, the mapuputing mga girls na tawag ito na the Miss International typically crowns among Filipinas. The typical Filipina that we see winning at Miss International are the Kylies, the Bea Rose, the Gemma Cruz, the what do you call this? The Aurora P. Juans of the Philippines. But kita naman natin na pwede rin pala manalo ang mga morena. So we really need to work on the understanding, or rather researching kung ano yung mga attitudes and behaviors that the Miss International organization wants and is looking for in a winner, so that we can find alignments or parallels between what Angelica Lopez can offer to the Miss International brand, and then work from there. That way, ang approach natin is not just looking at the physical, not just being very very literal with what they're looking for, but rather we work on the parameters that ito yung pwedeng mag-work with Miss International. So let's find a solution in order to be at alignment, be at parallel with what they're looking for and what we have to offer. Okay? So mga huling mga comments na lang here para before we end our live stream. Okay? Sabi ni Dikonan, Sir, ano po Instagram nyo so I can follow you? Okay, guys, you can follow me at Sashes&Scripts Official on Facebook and Instagram. That is my official handle. I do hope that you follow us on our socials, as well as subscribe to our channel. And before we end up our live stream this evening, please leave a thumbs up, because it really helps us in terms of the algorithm on YouTube. The more people who likes and comments in our live stream, the more that the algorithm would push our content to a wider set of people. Okay? Sabi ni Jon Snow 79, parang Venezuelan girls talaga ang go-to winner ng Miss Universe, Miss World at Miss International. Legacy ni Osmel, diversified at swak prep nila sa pageant. Pag walang umaangat na candidate, sa Venezuela sila tumataya. Ayan. Sabi ni Saldi Salen, ewan ko kung ako lang, pero several years back, parang may nabasa ako na interview kay Nawating. Allegedly, sinabi niya na, I hate the Philippines or I hate the Filipinos. To that effect, dahil sa bashing. If that's the case, then kasiraan ng brand niya yon. Jam Amihan says, I have a hunch na baka yung out of the box na paghanap for next year and the following year, dahil naging advance naging advance na this year ang proclamation ng winner nila. Okay, so guys, I think ultimately, when it comes to preparations, we really need to learn how to pivot, how to adapt with the changes, much like how Nicole did during the Miss International competition, where she got feedback from people who are close to her, with these people having their ears on the ground, and then nakitaan din nila na kinakailangan medyo baguhin natin yung atake, and I think that's what Nicole and her team did in the competition. So overall, I think it paid off. I think that lahat tayo, really need to rally behind our candidates, at hindi yung puro na lang. We really need to give them the benefit of the doubt that they can pull it off without too much pressure from us. It's okay to give feedback. It's okay, to criticize, but it's also okay to give feedback so that they can improve, and to give constructive criticism so that they are given, motivation to improve. Okay? I do hope that in the future, yung preparations natin mas maging parallel doon sa preparations ng Venezuela for Miss International, and I do hope that we find the right formula, like how Venezuela has found their Miss International na formula. Okay? Sabi ni James Yap, Jason, first time to watch live, late pa. I just want to say MGI doesn't really look for hampasan ng balakang. Pero it's not like that. Isabella Menin wasn't like that. So, hindi yun ang kulang ni Nikki. Again, kung meron tayong topak na uncle na nagdidikta kung sino mananalo kahit na sino ipadala natin, mahihirapan talaga tayong ipanalo yan. Ang akin lang, ginago na tayo ng todo, ginagago pa rin tayo hanggang ngayon, magpapagago ba tayo in the future? And that is a question that each pageant fan would have to answer themselves in the future. Dahil kung ganito na naman ang mangyayari next year, wag na naman kayong magngangawa sa social media na nilaro-laro tayo dahil alam naman natin na yun ang ginagawa sa atin. Okay? So, that's for our live stream this evening. Thank you very much for everyone who joined. I think the good thing about this entire thing is that we learn from our mistakes, and that despite the inis and di dun sa hindi natin pagkatuwa doon sa ginawa sa atin doon sa isang pageant, at least ibinawi tayo sa Miss International. And this is the reason why on our end, we should really be supporting and pushing for more Miss International content, more visibility for the Japan-based na pageant, because they are really very fair when it comes to treating the candidates. Na kesyo, ilang beses nang nanalo ang Venezuela, pero kung deserving yung candidate, ibibigay nila yung corona doon sa kanya. Dahil it's not about how many times you've won, how many times you've lost, but are you deserving for the title that is given to you? And I think if that is the case for Miss International, then maybe our energies are better served for that pageant. Now, before I end our live stream, I just wanted to announce that after our coverage for Miss Universe this November, we are also already on the planning stage on ano yung gagawin natin for Miss Earth. I know that lahat kayo nag-anticipate kung ano ang gagawin natin as we move forward in the pageant season. Hindi ko lang kaya na pagsabay-sabayin yung mga pageants na ito. I am giving, as much as possible focus on certain pageants on a certain timetable, dahil hindi ko kayang mag-micromanage, multiple manage ng coverages, dahil I also have my day job that needs to be taken care of. And the good thing with that is, karamihan ng ng mga schools na tinuturuan ko would have early breaks in December, so that would allow me more time to do pageant coverages in the next several weeks, coming weeks. So asahan ninyo na meron akong niluluto for Miss Earth and for Miss Universe as well. So abangan niyo yan. I will be making announcements later kapag I am much more confident na hindi magagaya, hindi ko kopyahin ng iba yung gagawin natin for Miss Universe and Miss Earth. Okay? Maraming salamat sa lahat. Thank you very much for another hour wonderful conversations with you. Thank you very much for all your comments, for all the likes, the follows here on our YouTube channel. I do hope that pagdating natin sa Miss Universe at sa Miss Earth, bigyan din natin sila ng karampatang suporta, much like what we did for Miss International this year. Okay? Thank you very much. See you again in our live stream in the coming week ahead. Abangan nyo yan, because the first salvo of our coverage is going to be talking about Miss Universe. Okay? Thank you very much. Have a great weekend ahead. I do hope na i-enjoyin nyo itong long weekend na mangyayari ngayon. Spend time with your families, and see you again in our next na live stream. Okay? Bye everyone, and take care.